We're going to choose a random place in the world where we can travel. I don't know about you, but it's always seemed to me that there is nothing better for expanding the mind and expanding the heart than international travel. And if you're gonna travel, the best way to do it is to choose a place at random. And by the way, if you happen to be in a relationship, there's nothing better for testing your relationship than traveling together. Try it sometime. So, anyhow, here is how we're going to pick a country at random. Step one, pick a number between 1 and 10. Pick any number between 1 and 10. It doesn't matter what it is. Do you have one? Good. Now I want you to take whatever number you're thinking of and multiply it by 9. Multiply it by 9. Now for those of you who graduated from American high schools, I'll give you a moment to figure that out. Have you got it? Okay, good. Now, you probably have a 2-digit number in your mind. It's possible that you have a 1-digit number. But either way, what I want you to do now is to take the 2 digits of the number you're currently thinking of and add them together. So that, for example, if your number is 34, then you would add 3 plus 4 and get a new total of 7. If you have a 1-digit number, just add 0 to it and you'll end up with the same number that you started with. Okay? Good. Now, I really want to emphasize at this point that there's no way I could possibly know what number you're thinking of. In the first place, you chose a number between 1 and 10. There's no way I could know what number that was. And now you have a number in your mind that even you didn't know you'd be thinking of about a minute and a half ago. So last step, take the number that's in your mind right now and subtract the number 5. Subtract 5 from whatever number you were thinking of. And you've arrived at a final number. I want you to remember this number because you're going to need it more than once. Do you remember it? Good. Now I want you to imagine that each letter in the English alphabet corresponds to a number. So that, for example, A would be 1, B would be 2, and so on. I want you to think of whatever letter in the alphabet corresponds to the number that you're thinking of now, the one that I told you to remember. Go ahead. Do you have it? Good. Now think of any country, and this is the fun part. You're going to think of any random country that comes to mind. So let's say any European country that comes to mind, the first one that comes into your mind that begins with that letter. Do you have one? Good. And now I want you to think of, say, the second letter in the name of that country and imagine an animal that begins with that letter. You got one? Beautiful. So you have a country now and you have an animal. I want you to think of the name of that animal and go back to the number that I asked you to remember. Count down the letters in that animal's name until you reach your number. So that, for example, if your number was 2, you would go with the second letter of that animal's name. Okay? Do you have it? Beautiful. Now you've got a letter in your mind. I want you to think of any color that begins with that letter. Any color at all. Do you have one? So now you have a country, you have an animal, and you have a color. Here's the good news. I think that you can pack your imaginary bags for a wonderful trip to Denmark. But the bad news is I don't think you're going to see any elephants while you're there. Unless you go to a zoo or something like that. And even then, you're not likely to see any pink elephants. And you certainly won't see any purple ones. Have a good trip.